6 minutes. In a medical emergency, it's an eternity. For Eric Richins, it was the difference between life and death. You're about to hear the 911 call where a grieving wife was asked to perform CPR on her dying husband. And instead of pumping his chest, she spent the time making excuses. This is the story of how Kouri Richins dehumanized the man she swore to love, referring to his body as an it, while the pulse she claimed to be looking for was already gone.
This is Case Note Studio. We document real criminal justice cases, examining the evidence, the decisions, and how the system reached its outcome.
Like and subscribe.
The trial of Kouri Richins, known globally as the Grief Author case, reached its climax on March 21st, 2026. While the prosecution had built a mountain of circumstantial evidence, including a $4.5 million debt and secret fentanyl purchases, it was a single piece of evidence provided by the defense that ultimately sealed her fate. The defense team believed the 911 call Kouri made on the night of Eric's death was their smoking gun for innocence. They were so confident in its power that they made it the very first thing the jury heard. However, in a masterclass of legal strategy, the prosecution took that same audio and turned it into a play-by-line reconstruction of a cold-blooded murder. The prosecution's deconstruction of the call began not with the audio itself, but with the black hole of time that preceded it. Digital forensics revealed that Kouri's phone began moving at 3:08 a.m. Over the next 15 minutes, she unlocked her device multiple times, at 3:10, 3:15, and 3:19. Yet, she didn't dial 911 until 3:23 a.m. The prosecution asked the jury a devastating question. What was she doing during those 15 minutes? And while Eric lay dying from a massive fentanyl overdose, Kouri wasn't calling for help. She was allegedly staging the bedroom. Every second of that 15-minute delay was a second of medical care that Eric was denied. When the call finally began, the prosecution played it for the jury with a stopwatch ticking on a large screen, counting down the seconds of Eric's life. The first thing that struck the jury wasn't Kouri's grief, but her priorities. Instead of screaming for a pulse or a breath, Kouri spent the opening moments of the call establishing an alibi. She told the dispatcher, "I was sleeping in with my kids. I just came into our bed."
What happened?
I don't know. I just came in. I was sleeping with my kids.
Okay, I can't understand you. I need you to take a deep breath.
The prosecution argued this was performative distancing. Kouri wasn't a panicked wife. She was a narrator creating a record for the police. She wanted it known immediately that she was in a different room when the accident happened. By focusing on her location rather than Eric's condition, she wasted precious time that the 911 operator needed to provide life-saving instructions. As the stopwatch hit the 3-minute mark, the tone of the call shifted from tragic to chilling. The 911 operator began pleading with Kouri to move Eric to the floor to begin CPR. Kouri's resistance was immediate and multi-layered. She claimed she didn't know how. She claimed she was shaking too hard. She claimed he was too heavy.
On the ground?
I'm shaking. I can't put them. I can't.
You can do it. You can do it. You need to calm down, okay?
Yellow.
We need to help them. I can guide you through CPR. Take a deep breath for me. I'm here with you.
The prosecution pointed out that Kouri was a fit, active woman who worked in real estate and construction. The idea that she couldn't move her husband in a life-or-death emergency felt hollow to the jury. And then came the moment that many jurors later cited as the turning point. As Kouri struggled to move her husband's body, her language shifted in a way that suggested she had already checked out of the marriage and into the murder. She stopped referring to Eric as he or him. She told the operator, "I can't move it. It's just dead."
He's on the floor.
The prosecution pounced on this dehumanization. To Kouri, Eric was no longer a human being, a father, or a partner. He was an it, an object, a task to be completed, a body to be moved. She had murdered the man, and in her mind, the transition from person to property was already complete. By the time the stopwatch hit 5 minutes and 18 seconds, the 911 operator was still begging for the first chest compression. It took nearly 6 minutes of coaching for Kouri to even begin the physical act of CPR. The prosecution argued that this wasn't the behavior of someone desperate to save a life. It was the behavior of someone terrified of a miracle. They posited that Kouri was stalling because the last thing she wanted was for Eric to wake up. If he survived, her $2 million insurance payday would vanish, her $4.5 million debt would crush her, and Eric would finally have the proof he needed that she was trying to kill him. To drive this point home, the prosecution introduced a devastating contrast. Kouri's own words in a text message to her best friend, Chelsea Barney. In the weeks after the funeral, Kouri painted herself as a hero. She texted, "I tried so hard to save him. I pumped so damn hard, screaming at him to come back to life." The prosecution played the 911 call one last time immediately after reading that text, and the silence on the tape was deafening. There was no pumping so damn hard. There was no screaming at him to come back. There was only a woman who spent 6 minutes making excuses while a dispatcher begged her to help. The medical testimony supported this lack of effort. Emergency responders testified that when they finally took over and began CPR, body fluids were immediately released from Eric's mouth and nose. This is a standard biological response to the first real pressure applied to the chest of a deceased person. If Kouri had been pumping so damn hard, as she claimed, those fluids would have been released long before the paramedics arrived. The fact that it happened on their first compression proved that Kouri's heroic effort was a total fabrication. In the end, the prosecution argued that Kouri Richins had written 2 books. One was the children's book about grief that she sold to the public, and the other was the script she tried to perform for the 911 operator. But she was a better author than she was an actress. The jury didn't see a grieving widow. They saw a woman who used a stopwatch to measure out the remaining seconds of her husband's life. When the verdict of guilty was read on all counts, it wasn't just the fentanyl or the forgeries that convicted her. It was the sound of her own voice on a 911 call, distancing herself from a man she had already decided was an it. Kouri Richins thought the call would be her shield, but the prosecution turned it into the very weapon that ended her freedom. Leave your thought on this case. Like, share, and subscribe.